Hi, welcome to the ABCs of the Ethics Bowl. This is a series of videos to get you started with putting together a team for the Intercollegiate Ethics Bowl. I'm Dr. Rachel Robison-Green, and I'm going to take you through the first three videos on the ABCs, and then Dr. Richard Green will proceed with the next three videos. So we'll start with a welcome to the Ethics Bowl. If you're here at the workshop, you probably have some sense of what you're getting yourself into, but all the same, I'll just briefly describe what the Ethics Bowl is. So the Ethics Bowl is an intercollegiate debate activity where students are given 15 cases all on different ethical issues. And in each round, there are two teams and each team takes a turn doing the primary case on one of the ethical issues. And then the other team does a rebuttal. We'll go through all the mechanics of that in the final three videos of this unit. It's unlike debate in that teams can argue for whatever they want to argue for. And so you might find yourself in a situation in which both teams are arguing for the same position or whatever, but it isn't as antagonistic as you might think traditional debate is. You're not forced to argue, team members are not forced to argue for one side or the other. And it's a real opportunity to have civil discourse between individuals who disagree, groups of individuals who disagree. And so as a result, it's a really, I think, important and valuable activity that your students will get a lot out of, and you'll get a lot out of too, I think. I know I have in all the years I've been involved with the Ethics Bowl, which has been about 20 now. Okay, so one of the first things that you're going to want to do is secure permissions from your school. So you're going to want to make sure that you're authorized to have an Ethics Bowl team at your school. There's going to need to be some anchor at your school that is going to do things like reply to emails and register the team for the tournaments. We've had some issues in the past with teams being started by students and they don't really have permission from their school to attend tournaments, and so they can't get the permissions to say Thrive Down, or maybe some tournaments would involve renting a room and the teams don't have the resources and things to do that. And we've even had some teams comprised entirely of students flake at important moments, even at the National Bowl. So in response to that, we've required that you have to have an anchor person at that school. And there has to be permission through some authoritative source at your school to participate in the Ethics Bowl. So you want to do that. One of the most nerve-wracking aspects of getting a team started is securing funding. And different people have done this in different ways. And at the workshop, there's always an opportunity to talk to different coaches about the kind of funding that they've been able to secure. I've coached Ethics Bowl teams at different institutions, and the funding situation has been different at each of them. So at my current institution, we have fairly regular support from the department chair, and sometimes the dean will kick in money, but it is something that we have to ask for every semester, or every year at least. And I think that this isn't a tough sell because the pedagogical value of something like the Ethics Bowl is so obvious. And yet it can be a challenge. And some coaches have expressed it as a challenge. We've had coaches that started GoFundMe pages to fund their team's year. And frequently when coaches have done that, what that has done is motivated deans to kick in some money, because it might be kind of embarrassing to generate money in a GoFundMe way for the dean. That's been an approach that people have tried, but really I think most teams have found it, because of the pedagogical value, fairly easy. I don't want to overstate that, but fairly easy to get permission from their department chairs or their deans. One thing that might be useful to do is to create a little presentation about what the Ethics Bowl is and the value that it has for students. And we'd certainly be happy to help you do something like that, give you the kinds of resources you might need to do something like that, provide information to the powers that be to help you. I know that other teams, one school that I coached for had really ample funding, and the way it was able to secure ample funding was to get its team a line item on, get the financial backing to be a line item for in the Department of Student Services. So the different departments at your university might have funding to give if you're a registered organization with that institution at your school. And so that's kind of a more secure way to do it, is to as I mentioned, to become a line item, become something that the school is giving money from student fees to every year. And if you want to talk to someone about that, I'd recommend contacting Richard Green, who, as I mentioned, is the other presenter here, because he's the one that secured that funding at that school that I mentioned. So that's an option for you. And there can be other options as well. So funding through clubs and organizations and things like that. And we can certainly put you in contact with different coaches who found different sources of funding. But most coaches report that this isn't particularly, that this may be really intimidating, but it isn't particularly challenging for most coaches. Okay, the next thing you'll want to do is to get to know the organizers in your region, so that you want to get your name put on an email list so you know when the event is going to be. You're going to want to know what rules your particular region is adhering to so that you can prepare your team properly. So the competition runs a particular way at the national level, but different regions have autonomy to sort of try different things out with the rules. And sometimes those experiments that the different regions do are things that we take on at the national level. And so it's important for those regions to have some autonomy to sort of try some things out. And so different regions are run in different ways. Some are red robins, some where all of the teams participate in all of the rounds, and the team with the highest record is the one that wins the tournament, and so on. But other regions have semis and quarters and finals. So you'll want to look into it with your organizer, what form your tournament is going to take and how many cases your team will need to prepare. So you might get, I know that in our region, we do it red robin style. And so we drop 3 of the 15 cases every year, and the coaches vote on which cases to drop. And so you're going to want to be familiar with all of that stuff from the outset, so that, for example, you have a vote when it comes to which cases get dropped if you're in one of those regions, because the way that typically happens is that the coaches get to vote on which cases get dropped. And you'll also want to not have your students prepare for cases that aren't going to come up. Okay, so lots of important reasons to get to know the organizers in your region. You might one day want to be one of the tournament organizers in your region, and so you can really get to know the mechanics from them. I would also suggest, as you're just preparing to put together a team, to consider watching videos of matches online. You can go to YouTube and find those, and they're really helpful in just getting a sense of what the Ethics Bowl looks like. All right, thanks very much. We'll see you in the next video.